All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. We have about 20 minutes of content. We have about 25 minutes left, so I think that we'll be able to run through this. And obviously, for anyone who wasn't able to join, we're recording the session and we'll be able to send out for you to watch at your leisure. So my name is Lauren Nuss. I am the head of customer success for Jove. We also have Jory on the line as well. He is our handy dandy moderator. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and Jory can keep an eye on them and let me know. All right, so let's get started. So here's a very quick rundown just to make sure we're all on the same page. Again, we have a lot of content in today's meeting, but I think that it's going to be super informative and pretty painless. So I'm first just going to give you a very, very quick introduction to Jove, who we are, why we're here. And then we're going to quickly pivot into how the budgeting mindset has shifted and why we're sort of building a solution to meet this shift in mindset. And then how to go ahead and structure an agile data-informed budget. Then from there, we're going to pop into our software itself. I'll give you a quick demo of our budget solution, have some time for Q&A, and then we'll talk about next steps. We are offering an extended free trial of not only our budget software, but all of Jove's solutions. And so if you're interested in getting started, we'll walk through what next steps look like. So first of all, who is Jove? Well, Jove is a company that has been around for a hot minute, for about 3.5, almost 4 years now. And we are trying to make testing feel simple. Really, all that means is that we are trying to make it easy for users, for brands, for teams to understand their marketing data and respond to their data in order to drive a better outcome. Really, just like the schematic is showing, it's just a feedback loop, and we're following that feedback loop. And we're trying to build tools that make it really easy. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here, but I do want to let you know that we are going into budgets today, but we have a handful of point solutions that work together that allow you to digest your data and respond to that data in a particular lane. And so why are we focusing on testing and learning and organizing your data and responding to your data? Well, we're not mind readers. According to super sciencey sources, like my man Bill over there, you know, the number of years you have under your belt, the size of your budget, the size of your marketing team has no impact on your ability to predict the future and make predictions about marketing outcomes. There's too many variables at play that are uncontrollable. But there's no need to fret, because what's beautiful about the marketing world today is that every single interaction that you have with your consumer is an exchange of information. And that exchange of information provides so much to unpack and to learn from and to respond to. And so that is why we are so focused on building solutions that allow our users to easily manipulate their data and respond to their data. And why we're here today is to talk about how those consumer touch points and how that exchange of information has shifted the way that people have been thinking about budgeting. And I'm going to give sort of like 3 really high level talking points. So the first one, conditions across and within channels are constantly in flux. And so what that essentially means is, again, there are far too many variables at play for you to control, even if you are the most experienced marketer with a team of 60 to 70 behind your back. You cannot control variables at play. Maybe your target market is in a bad mood today. Maybe there's a new competitor in the market and they're offering a new product that you don't yet have your hands on. Or maybe it's 2020 and the entire world is upside down and you have no idea what to do. You can't control the variables. And so what that essentially means is postmortem reporting has been replaced with rapid data-driven iteration or just rapid response. Because there are so many variables at play, you can't just put something out there, set it and forget it, come together, look at things retrospectively, and then make a decision in how you're going to move forward. You have to be in the data. You have to be knees deep. You have to be responding to it. Of course, postmortems are still valuable. Looking at things from that perspective can still draw insight, but really, if you're trying to drive value and to drive change, you need to be in the data and you need to be responding to it. And so when it comes to budgeting, what that means is that there is absolutely no perfect allocation. You need to be always on, and you need to be allocating and reallocating your spend based on the data that you're knees deep in and the data that you're responding to. So essentially, the days of I'm going to spend a ton of time planning and building this really complex set budget are over. All you need to do now is just make sure that you're organizing your campaigns, your data in a way that allows you to respond to data. And so agility is key. You need to be agile. And so what that means is that you need to set rules of engagement, or to put it in a different way, you need to define your spend management logic, and then you need to operate within it. And so now we're going to talk about, okay, if we know that the days of building a set and forget budget are over, how do we even build a budget? Why do we build a budget? How do we build a structure that allows us to be agile? Well, it starts with setting a goal. And your goal should align with your overall business objective. Your marketing team, your marketing efforts should not be in a silo. Marketing drives business objective, it drives business visibility. And so your business goals need to be completely aligned with your marketing goals. And then whatever goal you set, whether it's awareness, whether it's to drive a purchase, whether it's to drive an email sign up or an event response, whatever goal you're setting dictates how you measure it and how you can respond to it. And the way you measure it is by defining a target. Targets and goals are completely separate. A goal is, I want to drive awareness. A target is, how am I going to measure that awareness? And so once you've set a goal, the number of targets that become relevant narrow and refine based on that goal. And ideally, your target should be an efficiency metric, or a metric that is like cost per action, or return on ad spend, cost per impression, cost per conversion, cost per add to cart, whatever the objective is. It should be an efficiency metric, because you are trying to get an assessment of how well am I spending my dollars, and is there another opportunity for me to be spending more efficiently? And once you've set that goal, you want to pick the lowest funnel metric that's relevant to that goal. So for example, if you're trying to, again, drive awareness, you know that you're going to drive awareness by measuring impressions. And that really is the lowest funnel metric of awareness that you want to measure. And so you want to measure a cost per impression. And then finally, we're getting into, or not finally, but we're now moving into organizing and allocating. So what you need to be doing is organizing your relevant efforts. So these are your assets, your campaigns, your ad groups, your copy, whatever. You want to organize relevant efforts together. And this is really, really critical to being able to be agile and respond to your data. Because if you're not organizing your campaigns in a relevant way, you're not able to look at that group of performance and then apply an adjustment to that group in a way that's going to drive a positive change for that group. So you really want to spend time making sure that all of your campaigns are organized in a way that really makes sense to your business and what you're trying to do. You also want to deploy on channels that foster the behavior that you're seeking to drive. And really all that means is you want to understand just the high level innate behaviors of consumers on these individual channels. So like Facebook. They're there to consume information. They're there to look at information. It's a very visually forward channel. There's a lot that you can do with that type of engagement versus search. You know, this is a very intent-driven channel. People are searching for things that they already know about, and they're trying to convert. So you need to understand sort of the basic behaviors on those channels, and then make sure that you're deploying your media on the channels that make sense. So again, if you're trying to drive awareness, just knowing the innate behaviors of search might not be the best place for you to start. Facebook, Instagram, visually forward channels make sense. And then finally, don't overthink it. We just talked about the fact that the perfect allocation doesn't exist. So don't spend a ton of your time trying to come up with a perfect allocation. You're going to be wasting your time. Allocate just based on the opportunity that you see and based on the behaviors that you're trying to drive. And then most importantly, monitor and respond. You know, you've set your goals, you've set your target, you've organized your data so that you can respond to your data. Now just keep your fingers on that pulse and respond to it. So the first thing is you want to understand your target signal, and you want to understand how readily you can respond to it. So what I mean by that is, if you are trying to operate and drive reach or drive impressions, there's going to be a lot of impressions. That's a very, very, very high frequency event. you're going to be able to make changes really, really quickly. Let's say on the other end of that spectrum, you're trying to drive purchase. That is a lower frequency event. You're going to need more purchases. You're going to need more signal before you can confidently make an adjustment to that campaign, to that effort. Secondly, you want to understand your key concepts of budgets. So look at your pacing. How are you pacing? Are you under pacing? Are you over pacing? Your pacing performance is going to tell you where to focus, where to make an adjustment. And then your target performance will tell you how aggressively you need to adjust. So are you over target? Are you under target? Looking at pacing in tandem with your target performance is going to really help you narrow in and hone in on what you need to do. And then if you have all of that, follow the data, allocate and reallocate confidently. This really might seem like an oversimplification, but the beauty of it is it's really not. If you have a clear goal, if you have a clear target, if you organize your campaigns, the complexity of budget management really goes away, because all you're doing is responding and playing against the rules that you've set for yourself. And so with that, I've sort of set the stage, and I'm going to stop sharing here. I'll actually turn on my video so you can see me, and I'm going to pivot over and jump into the tool itself. This is the Jove homepage. And essentially what we're going to be doing now is going into the two relevant solutions that are going to allow you to do what we just talked about. So we're going to first pivot into tags. So tags is essentially the building blocks of Jove. This is where you should be spending the majority of your time, the majority of your effort. This is what's allowing you to organize your campaigns in a way that are going to allow you to be confident and to respond to that data as you see flowing through. And so right now you can see in our tagging module, you can essentially apply tags, or you can apply values to any individual asset related to your campaigns. For the sake of budgets, we're going to only talk about our campaigns. So here in this fictitious sort of brand account, you can see that we have a handful of campaigns here, and we already have tags applied based on the campaign type. So for me, in this example, it's really important for me to understand how my individual campaign efforts against the targeted audiences are performing. I want to make decisions based on how my prospecting audience is performing versus my remarketing audience versus my retargeting audience. Let's say, for example, you had a completely different way that you wanted to measure your efforts. Maybe you wanted to all of a sudden measure your campaign performance and your budget against consideration phase. And so maybe you want to measure against introduction, you want to measure against consideration, purchase, and then repurchase. You come in here, you create that tag group, and then you can apply it to whatever campaigns are relevant to that tag group. Why we're talking about this now is because the tags that you apply here at the campaign level are going to open the doors for you to structure your budget in a really custom way. Okay, so now that we've gone through tags, let's go ahead and pivot back over to our budgets module. So this is really what we're here to talk about. And so what you're seeing here is our budgets homepage. And what I'm going to quickly run you through is our high-level budgets dashboard, what it looks like to build a budget, and then a couple of scenarios that are pretty common when it comes to budget management and how budgets and the budget tool enables you to be really confident about those decisions. So this is a really simple dashboard because it can be simple. Again, keep thinking back to the complexity of budget management falls away if you just have the right target set and you have a really clear goal. And so we've intentionally created a very simple dashboard that enables you to get to the actionable pieces of data and respond to those pieces of data. So at the very top of our budgets module, you can see a drop down here. And essentially what this drop down does is it saves all of your budgets, future budgets, past budgets, current budgets, for you to reference in planning or for you to build out in the future. For this individual exercise, I'm going to go to a past budget, which is an August audience budget. And we're going to walk through the dashboard at a high level. So at the very top of our budgets dashboard, you see our high level KPIs. So you're coming in here, you're getting a very quick hot take of the most relevant high level pieces of information. So here, what is the budget that you set? How have you spent against that budget? How much budget is remaining? what is the daily average performance of your budget? Or in other words, what is the daily average run rate? How much daily budget is remaining, and then how many days are remaining in your budget? This is 0, again, because this is a past budget, but I am going to pivot over to an active budget for us to look at a budget in real time. So what you're trying to get a sense of here is, okay, how am I performing? Am I on pace? And then let's go back and let's scroll down into more relevant or granular pieces of information. So over here on the left, we have our budget versus spend. And so this is where you're going to understand your pacing performance. And so referencing back to what we just talked about, this is where you understand how or where you should be focusing. And then over here, you have your target versus your actual performance. So what is a target that you set? How am I performing against that target that's measuring my goal? How aggressively should I be making a change? So again, here, where should I focus? And here, how aggressively should I be making an adjustment in order to get me back on track? And so what you're seeing here is your individual line items or the individual structures of your budget. So here you can see your retargeting, remarketing, prospecting, and then on the other side, you can see, okay, here's my retargeting target performance, remarketing target performance, prospecting target performance. We very easily conditionally format or color code performance. So you can get a quick visual read on how you're performing. So overall, you know, we're a little bit under budget. Retargeting is under budget, remarketing is over budget, and prospecting is under budget. Inversely, retargeting was over target, or our target was higher than we wanted it to be. Same with remarketing. However, prospecting was under target. So if you continue to scroll down, now you're getting a daily look at what that performance looks like. So this darker blue bar is your budget. This lighter blue bar is your actual spend. And then on the days that you see a red bar above that lighter blue bar, that means that you've overspent. And so again, what you're trying to get a sense here is, okay, how are my individual line items performing? Where should I be focusing? Okay, how are those individual line items performing? How aggressively should I be making an adjustment in order to get myself back on pace and back on target? So now I'm going to quickly run you through, okay, what if I wanted to create a new active budget using the same structure? So let's say October audience budget. It defaults to the current month you're in. You can select a week, you can select a month, you can select a year, a quarter. The world is your oyster. I'm going to go ahead and select $50,000. And then here I get to select my target. Don't fret. Whatever you select here, you can adjust in future steps. But I know that it's really important for me to measure cost per purchase. So I'm going to select cost per purchase, and I know that my target is going to be $40. And then I have 2 accounts linked to Jove. I have a Google account and I have a Facebook account. We're going to default to selecting both of those linked accounts. But if you wanted to narrow your purview to just Facebook, you deselect Google, or if you wanted to narrow it to just Google, you deselect Facebook. So here's my high-level setup information. Now we're moving over to the structure. And so thinking back to that tag demo that I just gave you, the tags that you apply at the campaign level dictate the structures that you can set. So again, I know it's important for me to look at campaign type or audience type. So I'm going to go ahead and select that structure. Maybe I don't see a structure here that I want. I can quickly go ahead and pop back over to Tag Manager, and I can create a campaign level tag, apply it to my campaigns, and that structure will now be available to me in budgets for me to track spend against. So I'm picking campaign type and I'm moving over. So now I see I have $50,000 to allocate. I'm going to go ahead and allocate it. Prospecting, I know, is going to be the majority of my spend. Remarketing, I only want 5,000. And here I can see, okay, I have 15,000 left. I'm going to apply all of that to retargeting because I don't have a testing budget right now. Let's say, for example, my remarketing CPA or my remarketing target should be a little bit different. I want this to actually be ROAS. I can change the target metric based on the individual line item. And then I can adjust this to be 2. Maybe I want this to be 45, and maybe I want this to be 30. And it is as simple as that. Then I create my budget, and it's going to organize all of my spend data against that budget and allow me to respond to it in real time. Again, this is a fictitious brand, but I'm going to quickly pivot over to a different active account so that we can get a sense of, okay, it's real time. It is October 2020. I know I'm spending. How should I be leveraging the budget's dashboard to make decisions? So this is an active account that is using our budgets module. So again, here we have our high level budget spend performance data. So here we have a budget of $176,000. We've spent to date about $61,000. So we have a budget remaining of $115K. That's a pretty hefty amount. To date, on average, I'm spending about $4,400 a day. However, I need to be spending $6,800 in order to get to my budget target amount. So what that means is I need to make an adjustment to my budget that increases my average daily run rate from 4.4 to 6.8K. So where do I focus? How do I do that? Well, now I'm going to come down here to my individual line items. This account has chosen to organize by platform and by campaign effort. So we have non-brand SEM, we have Pinterest, shopping, Facebook, brand SEM, and then over here I have my target amounts. So immediately, okay, I'm underpacing. Where am I underpacing? Where am I overpacing? Well, right here, I immediately get a sense, okay, I am overpacing, I'm over budget for brand SEM, for non-brand SEM. This is a little bit hot. It's running kind of hot. How do I feel about that? Well, my ROAS isn't too great. My ROAS, or return on ad spend, is significantly below where my target needs to be. So I don't really feel comfortable shifting budget to this line because my target is not where it needs to be. However, when I go to shopping, I see I'm underpacing and my target is actually quite strong. I have a ROAS that's above 4, which is above my target. What can I do on my shopping line item to increase spend, to increase pace? Maybe I want to open budgets up. Maybe I want to increase my bid amount. Maybe I want to increase my targeting. Anything I can to open this up to allow more dollars to flow towards shopping because it is a strong performer. So that is how you would kind of leverage this pacing performance and the target performance in tandem to make decisions about, again, where to focus, how aggressively should I focus? I know I should focus on shopping, and I feel pretty confident making a pretty aggressive adjustment because my ROAS is 55%, 56% higher than my target, which is awesome. So that's where I should be focusing. So that is, again, a very, very high level run through of our budgets module, how we're thinking about budgets, how we're shifting our mindset to be more agile spend managers instead of upfront budget planners. So with that, I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but I wanna pause and see if there are any questions that I can answer for anyone at this time. And if not, no worries. I come prepared. I have a couple of very high level questions that we can quickly run through. And I'll do that now, knowing that we only have a couple of minutes left. I'm gonna touch on the first two. So a question that we get all the time is, how much money should I be spending? This is a really broad and open-ended question. And it can be a pretty scary question. What I can tell you right now is, do not look at what your competitors are doing. It does not matter. What matters is what you are doing, what your goals are, and what your targets are. So it helps to understand, again, what your payback economics are, so on and so forth. But in reality, just set a budget amount that you're comfortable with, set a target that measures the goal you're trying to achieve, and then scale that amount upward as you're able to make adjustments to bring your target down. It seems, again, like an oversimplification. It really isn't. It's just, what are you comfortable with, and how can you make that dollar amount go as far as you possibly can, and then increase that dollar amount as you get more and more comfortable. The other question that we get all the time are, what channels should I spend on? There are a million channels out there, and it could be very, very overwhelming. Don't let that overwhelm you. If you're just starting out, if you don't know what your budget should be, Facebook and Google are the behemoths of the industry. The majority of users out there, the majority of consumers out there are on Facebook and are on Google. Start there. And again, understand the behaviors and the goals you're trying to drive, and shift your budget toward whatever channel makes the most sense for the outcomes that you're looking for. So Facebook and Google really are where you should all be if you aren't already. And it doesn't make sense to put the cart before the horse. Don't immediately jump into TikTok if you haven't ever run on Facebook and you don't have a solid understanding of how you perform on social media platforms. So again, I'm gonna stop there because we sort of are at time.
Hey, Lauren, we do have a question in the chat too.
Do you mind reading it out for me?
Sure. It's about pretty much just about pricing.
Okay. Yeah. So what we are doing for Jove right now is we're offering an extended 3-month free trial. And again, not just to budgets, but to our entire suite of solutions. And so if you're eager to get connected, I'm going to go ahead and send out Jove credentials to everyone who's registered for this webinar, and we'll get you going on the platform. Extended 3 months. If you want to commit and work with Jove long-term because you're testing, you're learning, you're feeling good about your data, pricing starts at about, $100 per user for one module. And then we have another step up, which is about $250 per user for access to access to 3 of our modules, and to really kind of get that interconnectivity going and making sure that you're understanding your data from all angles. What we will do as well, in addition to following up with your credentials, we will send over the pricing page so everyone can take a look at that pricing page. And then we also have a really, really well thought out, in-depth budget Q&A FAQ page. And if you have any questions about budgeting, how to set targets, where to start, how long to run, there's a ton of information on that page. And I almost guarantee you can find a nugget in there that you might not have already stumbled across. Any other questions that I can answer for anyone on the line? All right. Well, again, I know we're a little over time. I really, really appreciate everyone's time. Keep an eye out for me. You're going to get a link to this recording. You're going to get Jove user credentials, and you're going to get that link to our budget FAQ page that I think will be helpful for anyone who's interested in how to improve the way that they're managing their spend. Okay, crew. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday.